Hello, this is Lee Cooper, and this is my personal introduction video for special education for school leaders. So, a little bit about me. I grew up in Buena Vista, Colorado. I have a Bachelor's of Science in Mathematics Secondary Education from the University of Northern Colorado. This is my third year as a 6th grade math teacher. I am married, and in February we are expecting a new baby, so we're kind of gearing up for that. And then this is my first year at a new job in Colorado Springs. We had moved down here to be a little bit closer to family, so I'm now working at Fox Meadow Middle School in Colorado Springs, so it's my first year at that school. Quick critical reflection of how are we facilitating materials and essentially getting students with special needs the right things in their classes. So, as far as specific disability and classes to match, so students that are on an IEP, let's say that their IEP is focused on language arts, something within there, reading or writing, then they're going to be those students are going to be having a class that is going to be with a special educator. So they're going to be kind of in a pull-out is what you might say, with a certain group of students that are kind of working on the same goals. Then, as far as their normal language arts class, they're either going to have that with a teacher with a normal teacher, or they're going to have that with that same teacher. So they'll have, again, kind of like it's like basically having a double block. So like a double block where one of the blocks is focused specifically on those goals and on those remediations. So there's, again, kind of an intervention versus a targeted class. So one class being, okay, we're working on these specific goals, and this is specifically like a special education course, versus we're kind of having a class where we're still learning the content, still learning that, in this case, right, like 6th grade material or middle school material, but we're doing it in a more targeted way for students. Excuse me. So then, as far as hard copies of our IEPs, those are given out. That was a little bit of a weird process at the beginning of the year. I think it's because the special education team was kind of working at a new medium on getting those out. So there are soft copies available online through Enrich, it's called. But again, that was kind of like a weird process at the beginning of the year. Wasn't kind of the best on getting those materials out to teachers in a timely manner. And then really, as far as that goes, I mean, after that, it's like, hey, here's the IEP. Make sure you're accommodating, and that's about it. There's not a whole lot more provided, or as far as guidance or accountability or those kinds of things. It's mostly just, hey, you need to make sure that you're doing this. So I think coming from my last teaching assignment, so I'll kind of go to my personal reflection, my personal use. Coming from my last teaching assignment, we definitely, the district provided a lot, and the school was definitely provided a lot of guidance on how to accommodate, on how to ensure that you are reaching those goals. And I would say a lot less of that has happened this year. So without that guidance before, and if I was coming in maybe as a first-year teacher, I don't know really how much I would be accommodating students. That being said, though, I do provide some things. So for students with IEPs and students that are English language learners, culturally and linguistically diverse education, they do get accommodated warm-ups and DOLs, at least in my class. So I give them a sheet that has like pictures, it has bolded words, the text is broken down a little bit more. So anything that students were going to be working on more on their own, I try to make sure that it is scaffolded for them. Some other ways that I do that is, well, and then kind of moving to the next point though, there is a lack of accommodation for our everyday materials though. So we work out of, in math class, a Eureka material. So we just have the Eureka textbooks, but we don't have anything a way to accommodate those, unless I kind of like, I guess, went through and maybe like underlined things in individual students' books. So I guess, I mean, there is a way I could do it, but that seems like a lot, or draw on a picture or something, right? So that is something that, I'm not saying I couldn't do, but obviously that would take a lot of time and it doesn't seem very practical. So there is a lack of accommodation for our everyday materials, as opposed to what I was doing in years previous, because I was basically had unlimited copies. So I would, instead of having like a book provided, I would have unlimited copies, so then I could have a general education packet, I had a math accommodated packet, and I had a math and literacy accommodated packet. So I had those 3 packets that then students could kind of get what they need, but because there is a limited budget on printing, we really don't get a whole lot of printing. It's not something I can really do. Some other things that I do that are quick and easy, Speak It. So if students are using computers, you can download like the Chrome attachment, called Speak It, and then students can highlight things and it'll read it out for them. And then also, like, just a physical read aloud. So if they don't really like doing that, also it's, it's kind of robotic. It doesn't really give the nuances and those kinds of things within the voice, and to where students, are understanding what's our emphasis on words, those kinds of things. So, a physical read aloud for them as well. I would say frequent check-ins, that's, really big. Anchor charts and word wall, another big thing that I try to do. And then just use of gestures. So if we're talking about a vocabulary word, maybe we're talking about like horizontal axis, so we're like going like this with our arms, or vertical axis, we're going like this with our arms. I would say we're talking about numerator, right? Students are pointing up. Kind of get the idea. So we're bringing in gestures to kind of help students understand things more. And the anchor charts and the word walls, how that kind of provides accommodation is you can point to... Sorry, that's our bell. Students are coming. So you can point to the anchor chart and say, like, hey, why don't you go back to that and look at, what we did before or something, right? Or, hey, look at the word wall. And those things are always there, so they're always kind of providing scaffolds for students as they work through. Proposed plan. So I would definitely increase our printing budget, and that way I could, hopefully provide accommodated materials. But right now we just do not have that printing budget, and we do not have the copies that I would like to have. Increase communication and reinforce expectation. So I think that's something that is very lacking in general within the school, as there's a lack of communication among teachers and collaboration among teachers. So how can we bring that together more and say, like, hey, how are you accommodating this student, or what kind of methods are you using? And those conversations just don't really happen. And again, unless you know that you need to seek out those conversations. So for me, I'm like, man, I need to be doing a better job. How can I be doing that? Then you're not going to be really seeking those out. So again, if I was coming in as a first-year teacher, which a lot of our teachers are, they're not maybe really knowing to like seek those things out. Other things would be like normed assessments with accommodations provided. So again, that was something my last district did. It was like, hey, this is the test that you're going to take, and we've already kind of made the questions scaffolded. We've included pictures, or we've included sentence stems, those kinds of things to help accommodate. And that way, every teacher is not reinventing the wheel, right? And it's something that you could have from a district level. Combined classes for co-teaching. So I kind of talks about they have these smaller pull-out classes, and some of my classes are pretty small. So it seems like, could we be putting those classes together and having those teachers work, together in order to serve students the best, as opposed to kind of working in isolation. Impact of funding. So obviously we would need to increase that printing budget. And then if, let's say that we needed somebody to write the assessments and do the accommodations for those assessments. Now, how could we kind of make sure that that happens? I don't necessarily think that we would need to hire a person to do those things, but maybe you could say, find a teacher leader for a grade level and, hey, you've done this before, or you have a good assessment. Would you be willing to write the assessment and do the accommodations, and here's a $500 stipend, right? Something like that to give teachers that incentive that doesn't really cost a whole lot of money. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed. Thank you very much, and I look forward to working with everyone in this class. Thank you.